Alright guys, I'm Rabea.
And I'm Matt.
And this is Sounds Like on Andertons TV. Matty boy.
Rabster.
How are you doing?
I'm alright, how are you?
I'm alright, I'm excited about this one.
This should be good, it should be good. This is one of those, you've probably seen the title by now, but this is one of those, arguably definitely in the fingers.
Obviously Matt hasn't said who it is yet, but you've all seen the title. Rolling Stones.
Sound like the Rolling Stones.
Massive, massive, all-time, huge, iconic band ever.
Yes, they're probably the biggest band after the Beatles.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that.
But the thing is, as Matt rightly said, they're a fingers tone band really, because they're just such simple sounds
and so influenced by like the bluesers.
Yeah.
So it's really specific. It's really specific, but we're going to try and get somewhere close on obviously our £1,500 budget, which again is going to be a challenge. They're both known, both Ronnie Wood and Keith Richards, for having loads of guitars, loads of really expensive guitars. As they're kind of an old band and were around back in the day, they've got some original kind of 50s tellies, that kind of thing. So
do you want to be Keith or do you want to be Ronnie?
Do you know what? I think we should double up and go team on this one.
Go team.
And just we'll get the rigs and then see where we're at.
Okay. Cool. Well, in which case, let's go and get some guitars.
Let's do it. Yeah.
This is one of the inspired by Fender custom shops. So it might be slightly obvious who's inspired this particular build, but this is what we're going to be looking for that's not a custom shop.
Yes.
Because as you pointed out, it's a PAF style humbucker in the
Gibson
neck.
PAF, yeah. And it was, I think, a slide guitar pickup in the bridge. Basically, we're not going to get that kind of original pickup configuration. He has 3 guitars kind of in a similar configuration, all with nice names. I think McCorber, Malcolm and Sonny.
Fair.
Should I bring them over?
All the tellies are this side.
Yeah.
These are just straps.
The temporary condition of an amp.
So we just picked this up, and this is the vintage modified telly. So
Telly custom, isn't it?
yeah, Duncan designed bridge, and it looks like one of the wide humbuckers in the neck. And this is the only guitar, the only telly style guitar we've found with this pickup config so far. So
yeah,
I think it's
most of them are all kind of the lipstick and single coil style.
yeah.
So we're struggling.
I think if we needed a guitar for Keith, this would probably be the closest bet without spending loads of money. So I'd say that's Keith's guitar.
All right, let's do that. Let's do that. All right, so I've just found this. This is a 50s style Fender Squier Classic Vibe. Ronnie Wood was well known for playing. Is well known for playing 50s Strats. He has like many guitars and also plays things like sitar. So it's a tough one, but yeah, he has 2 favourite Strats, 50s, 3 single coils with a maple neck, maple fretboard in a burst. So I think this might get us quite close, all under £400.
So we're now looking for an amplifier, and I'm just going to say this. I don't think it would be sensible not to look at Fender amps to start with.
No. So Rolling Stones have used loads and loads of expensive vintage amps over the years, but they both play some Fender stuff now, I think. So yeah, it's worth a look. Should we go and see what we can find?
Yeah, and the good thing is that we got classic vibe guitars, which means, because they're Squiers, they're really affordable, which means we've theoretically extended the amp budget above our normal £600 threshold.
And I think part of getting these tones is that, yeah, it's got to be valve, obviously, as we usually do, but yeah, really high quality.
Yeah.
And the guitar should sound good enough.
Yeah.
So,
I reckon they will.
Yeah.
So we just need to get those amps, get a couple of pedals, and I reckon we're on it. We're on the money.
On the money. There's obviously a million Fender amps to choose from, and they vary loads and loads in price. And we're kind of thinking if we have about £300-400 spent on the guitar, then maybe dedicating another £700-900 on an amp it's probably all we've got to play with.
Yeah, but that's well more than we normally have, so I reckon we'd actually get something really nice for that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think... because
we don't normally do it this way around. We don't normally do more affordable guitar, more expensive amp. We normally swap that on its head.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's actually nice to do it differently this time. So after long deliberation, I'm feeling the Fender Princeton, because we can't, neither of us can afford an actual genuine Fender Twin. So that's why Matt's getting the deluxe reverb, the reissue, and then I'm going to get the Princeton with the Jensen speaker in it. Bit of a difference in wattage and size, but I think tonally they're both vintage, more vintage voiced Fender amps. So I reckon we'll, in terms of our clean tone and main tone, we're probably going to be more ballpark than if we got a more modern Fender.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think probably go with the Electro Harmonics Satisfaction Fuzz for the obvious song that's about.
Yeah.
So that might do us.
And that's is that about all? We don't need any pedals.
They're not pedals guys. They've used pedals like very few times.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think we might be alright.
So just guitar and amp and one pedal. That's good.
Let's have a go.
Let's try it.
So, pedals for Rolling Stones. We've had a bit of a taxing time with amps, just working out what we can get for the money and not get us close.
Deciding to spend more money on amps than guitars this time, which is weird for us.
Exactly, and they're both quite clean, so without turning them up, we're thinking that we might have to add a little bit of something to kind of dirty them up a bit. So, without further ado,
yeah, this is the Full Tone 69 Mark II, and it's kind of supposedly supposed to replicate a Satisfaction Fuzz style tone. So we're going to try that for Satisfaction.
The reason being, we were going to try the Satisfaction Fuzz by Electro Harmonics, but
there is none.
We're completely out of stock. So
we used one for John Frusciante, and it didn't bear much fruit, but unfortunately and ironically, when we actually do need it, there isn't any.
This is where we do need it.
So that's what we're going to use for that.
Yeah, hopefully it gets us close.
And then I'm also going to try the T-Rex Neo Comp. That's just going to push the front end ever so slightly to get a bit more of a sort of cranked, the illusion of a cranked clean amp that's breaking up a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's the same kind of idea with this as well. This is the Caitlin Bread SFT. I've just noticed actually it's got a stone setting on it. So hopefully that will get us with
if that don't get
a little bit of breakup, yeah, for the Ronnie Wood tone.
Awesome.
So should we go have a play?
Well, we may as well find out what it sounds like. Back in the room.
We are back indeed.
It's all about the Rolling Stones today, Matthew.
It is all about them Stones that are rolling. Rolling Stones, massive, super band. Kind of made it's like the advent of rock and roll as we know it, I guess. A lot of the bands we've covered are way newer.
They were like the starting block.
The thing is there's a lot of huge Rolling Stones fans out there, and they're so big, and to be honest, I'm a big fan. I think they're great. And to discredit them by getting it wrong would be a sin. So
I think that's why we went for more expensive amps for this rig, because I think with Rolling Stones, like, if you really want to sound like them, spend thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
Or at least on the amp, you know, one of the elements has to be a really like good quality. And I think for us, the toss-up between a great guitar and a cheap amp, or a cheaper guitar and a great amp, seemed more plausible.
Of course, and that's something that Keith Richards says in interviews, is that it's all about just that kind of guitar and amp sound.
Yeah.
Once you got that sorted, it's all then it's the feel and the fingers from there.
It's really simple on the pedal front as well, though, isn't it? What we've done here, because they don't use any, do they?
Well, no, they don't. But what we can't do is crank our amps to full and
deafen ourselves,
and get that kind of gain that way. So these are both really, really clean amps. So what we needed was a couple of pedals. What we needed was a couple of pedals to kind of just crunch us up a little without deafening us, which is the beauty of modern technology.
I guess we'll start with your rig first, Mr. Ronnie Wood.
Cool, Ronnie Wood. Yeah, we have this Fender Squier Classic Vibe 50s. Classic Vibe, should I say, 50 style.
I absolutely love the Classic Vibe series.
They're really, really good. And this has maple neck and maple fretboard, and as I said, the sunburst with 3 singles, and it is kind of reminiscent of one of Ronnie Wood's most famous guitars, I guess. He has a lot of guitars, and they're all kind of massively different for their own character. We tried to go with what was kind of most renowned, most popular, what you'd see him play with the Stones, kind of through the 50 odd years. So yeah, that's what we got, and that is running into the Fender Princeton, which is a lovely amp, lovely amp. Very, very, very clean. So what we did is we picked up one of these Caitlin Bred SFTs. This is specifically meant to emulate Ampeg bass amp tones, which they did use a lot live back in the day, and so much so that there is even a button which is Stoner or Stones. So
nice.
You get kind of the fact it's got Stones written on there. It's not going to be far off. So what I sound like, without pedal.
It is nice.
It's a beautiful clean tone. Yeah, a bit spiky on the bridge, but yeah, this just adds a little bit of. And you can roll off the volume a bit for those.
It definitely has the sound of an amp that's turned up really loud, that's just breaking up as opposed to actually being really quiet and putting a bit of distortion on it.
Well, no, exactly, yeah. And it's, but you can give it some, and it does do a lot more, But which is a little bit much, but
it's good though.
Yeah, it's just kind of finding that balance of just adding a soft bit of nice warm, the guitar and amp is a really nice rich sound. So
it's almost like the warmth comes from the pedal.
Well, it does, yeah. Well, it's an expensive kind of. What is this?
About £150.
Yeah, it's about £150 for this. So yeah, it sounds great. Sounds great, but you just have to kind of go easy. And I think like playing a little bit lighter rather than chugging away helps get that kind of the bluesy power chords kind of 12-bar style.
So if we move on to my rig, I'm using the Squier Telecaster Custom. It's the Deluxe, I think, and essentially it's got a Duncan design single coil in the bridge, and then we got one of those wide humbuckers in the neck. And we did that because Keith Richards, he has the path in the neck and he had the slide pickup in the bridge.
That's it.
So we tried to do the same sort of thing there. Obviously visually it's way off, but that was kind of the intention.
Yep.
And then of course, I'm running straight into the Deluxe reverb, so it's kind of like has a few different input options for like high, low, vintage, and that kind of thing. It's got a built-in tremolo, which we have been using.
That's really useful, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually really useful.
Yeah.
And reverb, of course, which I've been using. So, but Matt very rightly pointed out that Keith Richards plays in a completely different tuning, didn't you?
Keith Richards, he plays an open G.
Let me give you an open G. Let me give you an open G.
So that's basically where you tune the A down to a G to match the other G, and then the top E goes down to a D. Sounds great, but what he does, and is well known for doing, is removing the bottom E, and he actually took out one of the pole pieces in his guitar and filled it with wax.
Yeah, because it just doesn't work. It's like...
Oh, it doesn't fit at all. And I think drop G would probably be a bit much.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could go for a D to match the top D, but
you could.
You wouldn't have a root at the bottom. But
then Matt was like, if you ever want to sound like Rolling Stones, if you ever want to play a Rolling Stones thing, just do the whole, just go like this.
Before I actually knew that that's what he was doing, it was, once you figure it out, you go, oh, that's fine.
Yeah, just nice, easy way around, yeah.
Yeah. But it's a very distinctive style, and I think it's a huge part of it. So
as far as the guitar's concerned, unfortunately, I don't think it's the most accurate tonal guitar we could have got. Then again, for the budget we had, and like we said, we wanted more expensive amplifiers, it was necessary. Pickup configuration wise is the same, nearly, but it would have been really difficult to find a guitar with a slide pickup in the bridge.
You can't really get much closer without getting...
And Path is a Gibson humbucker, so to get one of those in a new Fender is impossible.
Yeah, without getting his signature or
exactly
an artist-inspired version.
But it's a nice guitar nevertheless, and moving on to the pedals, we got the T-Rex Neo Comp, which is probably one of my favourite compressor pedals that we've used it a few times now across Sounds Like. And we've heard other ones, and I really like it. I just think it's got a great sound. And one good thing about it is that if you roll off all the compression, you don't really use any of the compression, but it just warms the sound up. So, and that got us the kind of driven, like pushed sound, didn't it?
It just adds a little bit of gain again without having to push the amp too far.
So if I play without it, just
super clean.
Yeah, and then I push it in, you'll notice it's ever so slightly thicker, a little bit more warm, and sounds a bit more driven. It's about driving the amps, which we can't do physically because we'll go deaf.
Yes.
But that's the Neo Comp.
Yeah, and then there's the Fulltone 69. Unfortunately, the Satisfaction Fuzz by EHX, we don't have any in stock right now, and that obviously, being the Satisfaction pedal, is going to get you that Satisfaction sound. We don't have any, so we opted for this Fulltone 69, which gets us...
Took a bit of time.
Yeah, it took a bit of time. Got us ballpark, we're pretty close.
It's reminiscent of the Satisfaction Fuzz, and I think that's why it kind of works. So if I show you what it sounds like... It's almost squeaky at the top, and I don't know what it is. It's the type of chip that they use, or the transistor or whatever it is inside, or the resistor, I have no idea, in there that gives it that. But let's back off a little bit the fuzz and try that again. Yeah, it's a case of just really fine tweaking it to find exactly where it is.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which for Satisfaction, when we played, we had it pretty much where we thought it sounded most accurate.
Well, that's the only song that he uses any kind of fuzz or anything.
No.
So
I'm pretty sure had we had the opportunity to turn these amps up really loud, it would have been closer. And that's what I would recommend you guys do if you want to do Rolling Stones covers or you want to play in a Rolling Stones tribute band. It's about cranking the amp, but you might need some sort of sound shield in front of the speaker cab because it will be really loud. With this kind of band, we recommend that you put the money of your budget into the amplification rather than the guitars, because we're not just using these because they're the cheapest, but also because the classic vibe stuff is really, really good.
It is worth saying as well, for an extra kind of £100, you can get a Mexican Strat.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't have that extra £100.
No, but you might.
But you might, and you know, and again, for I think £460 is around the cheapest Mexican Strat, and they're amazing for the money. So
But that's it, yeah. Let us know what you think. Let us know how we did when it comes to this particular artist. And we'd love to hear more suggestions of who you'd like us to sound like in the future.
Yes, we would. And lastly, but not leastly, I have been Matt.
I have been Rabea.
And this has been Lounge Psych on Andertons TV.
Goodbye.